Sorry for the longest pause. I just wanted the photographers to get a good click of mine. Because how often is it that we get to stand and speak on this prestigious TEDx stage, and that too holding a set of balloons? But hey, wait. Thank you. This is not a set of balloons. This is two sets of balloons. But identical, right? Or so one would think. Let's see. Oops. One went right up. The others, well, they're still finding their way home. So not quite identical then, were they? Sometimes reality is not so obvious. Sometimes reality is not obvious on the outside, but really hidden on the inside, just like in these balloons. Today, I'm going to share with you three simple stories that had a profound impact on my life, and in that process, unveiled to me what reality really is. The first story takes us back many, many years to when I was about a 5-year-old kid. It was just another day, just another evening when I was sitting on the dining table along with my mom there, and she was coercing me into finishing that tall steel glass of milk, or rather forcing me. But something was different today, because her usual threats and complaints were not having the same kind of brash reply response from me as they normally did. So she sensed that something was wrong. And therefore, she took a small pause and said, "Finish that glass of milk now." And that's when it hit her. It wasn't just that something was not quite right. Something was seriously wrong. Because I was not just not responding to her threats, I was not responding at all. So panicking, she scooped me up in her arms and dashed outside running on the road. I have this vague memory of my mom running on the road, holding me to what I later on found out was the local nearby railway hospital. Nobody ever really knew what happened, why I had zoned out literally for a point of time and not really responded to anything that was going on around me. It was almost like I had taken a break just to return. Nobody understood what happened, but I knew. I knew, or rather I started to believe that I was lucky, that I was gifted with really a lot of good fortune. And so with that belief, I have always lived my life thinking that I was special, right? It was only later on that I realized that I had actually altered my reality. I had altered my reality to perceive the situation as not something worrisome, which the whole world saw it as, but the fact that I was special, that I was a miracle, and that I was gifted with good luck. Because, hey, come on, I had been to death and back. And in the process, I learned that reality is not always what it seems, but rather in how we perceive the situation. And from that day onwards, I have lived with that belief, with that perception of the reality, that I am gifted, that I am lucky, that I am special, which has ultimately made me into this crazily optimistic, positive person that everybody who knows me as. The second story is that of a boy and a girl. He was 6 and she was almost 6. They were neighbors and the best of friends. One day they were returning from this local school fete along with their families. Giggling, they had come out and they were enjoying the chocolate that she had won in the game of hoopla. You know, the one in which you throw a ring and it falls. How many people know your hoopla? Okay, lots of people. Fantastic, right? So they had won a lot of chocolates in the hoopla and they were giggling and enjoying those chocolates as they came out. What a lovely day it had been. The partners in crime looked at each other his twinkle meeting her dimple. They laughed, they slipped their hands into each other's hands, and they started dashing up and down the road as they made their way home. In a few minutes, the parents of both the kids suddenly realized that they were nowhere to be seen. And then, therefore, panicking, they made mini search troops to look for the two kids and find out where they had gone. About an hour passed, and then finally they reached home in a complete panic-stricken stage, deciding to take this search party into a full-blown search. But as they approached the gate, there they saw those two little kids sitting on the porch of that house, chocolate all over their face, and looking on sheepishly as if nothing really had happened. That was probably the first day both the kids got a tight slap on their face. Moving on, a few months passed and the little boy got transferred to another city because the parents were in a transferable job. Time passed and they never really spoke to each other, the best of friends. You see, there was no internet in those days. One day, when he was 19 and she was almost 19, her dad came back from office looking not so great. He had to share some news. The boy had tragically died. The boy who was the first boy that she had held hands with was no more. That was the harsh truth. That was the harsh truth, and she cried 2 nights continuously for the boy who she had never really even gotten to know. But as the tears dried up and left her being, she realized one thing. She realized the truth of life. And the one truth about life is that it is unpredictable, it is beautiful, it is precious. And with that, she changed her outlook towards life. That 19-year-old girl was me. At the brink of my teenage years coming to a close, I was faced with the reality of losing someone special. But to me, reality was that and so much more. I learned that reality was the fact that life is not a given fact, and that is a fact of life. I entered my 20s knowing more than well how precious life is, how beautiful life is, and how every moment in life needs to be and should be treasured. You see, I had not just seen the facts that had been placed in front of me, the harsh truth, but rather I'd gone in deeper to find the meaning behind this. And the meaning I found out about this was that I had to live my life to the fullest possible extent, because life is unpredictable, beautiful, and precious. And therefore, throughout my life, after that, I have cherished every single moment. I have lived life to the fullest. I have fallen, I have cried, I have bled, I have hurt, I have felt pain. I have failed. Oh my God, damn it, how much I have failed in life. But I have never, ever had regrets. And what a beautiful gift that is in life, right? Never to have any regrets. In fact, if you ask me, that's a beautiful way to enter your 40s. No regrets. And yes, through all this, I therefore realized that reality is not just in the facts that are placed in front of you, but in the interpretation of those facts. I'll take you now to story 3. This is a very small story, very teeny, tiny story, but probably the one closest to my heart. There was once this beautiful woman and this perfect man, and they had a beautiful daughter. They then had another beautiful daughter, except that this one didn't live to see week 2. They went through a lot of pain, but they healed each other and decided to have another child, and they had another baby daughter. That daughter was me. Now, that's the end of the story. Now, you would wonder, What's the big deal about this story? The show's so short and also so common. So many couples go through this in life and come out, right? But you see, I saw it differently. The world was not so shocked because life went on, but I saw it differently because I knew that I was born because another couldn't live on. My life, I felt thereon, is not just a gift, but it's a responsibility. Not just a gift, but a responsibility. Why? Because if I was sent down to live here a full life only after another life gave way, then oh man, I should have a higher purpose, a deeper purpose in life, right? And therefore, I have always lived my life trying to find more meaning in what I do. Don't get me wrong, I'm no Mother Teresa, but whatever I do, however I spend my time, I give it my all. And I don't just give it my all, I always look in terms of how this is adding value to either me, you, or the world. Because I believe everybody needs to have a vision for their life, a purpose for their life. And that is what I learned from this common and yet impactful story in my life. If I had been sent to live on this earth, then I needed to have a bigger purpose. You see, I didn't just look at the given situation, but I actually looked in terms of what meaning it had behind it. I am today who I am because of three things. Because of how I perceived life, because of how I interpreted life, and because how I believed myself to be. As Pablo Picasso, the great man, who here has heard of Picasso? Great, 70%. The next 30%, Google it later on. The great Pablo Picasso said that everything you can imagine is real. In fact, the truth is that we live in two different worlds. One is on the outer side, which is the objective reality, and the next world is on the inside, which is the subjective reality. Now, the laws that they are governed by, right? The laws are both different. The physical laws on the outside, whereas the psychological laws on the inside, yet both are equally important. How many of you in the crowd have heard of the saying that beauty is in the eyes of the beholder? Raise your hands. Okay, 100%. Great. Well, reality is created by the observer. Even Shakespeare's Hamlet says, and I will quote here, "For there is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so." Men are not influenced by things. Men are influenced by their thoughts of things. Oh my God, this is lovely. What an intelligent, well-read audience. Thank you. Of course, reality, we know, is governed by science and scientific discoveries, right? It is true to a large extent, but hey, here's the caveat to that. Science can also be refuted, and humankind has seen that happen. The ancient Greeks, in fact, maintained that all of Earth is made up of just 5 elements: air, water, fire. What were the other things? Air, water, fire, earth, and ether, right? But then we went on to discover so many elements: copper, tin, zinc, and now I believe we have more than 100 elements that we know of. Later on, of course, there was the theory about the atom being the smallest indivisible particle, right? In the 1800s or so, that's what we thought. But later on, Ernest Rutherford discovered the neutron, and then later on, other things were discovered like the proton, the electron, and the different parts of the atom, which showed that the atom is not really the smallest indivisible part. Science, therefore, is cumulative. It grows incrementally, and it does change with time as new evidence comes up. Most people once thought that the earth was flat, that the sun moved around the earth, and that we were the center of the universe. Well, I quite like the third theory, but unfortunately, none of them is true, and we know that very well, right? The history of science is replete and full of such examples. And yet, we very well know that as science evolves, so does our knowledge. And with that, the need to redefine our reality. Reality is not just what it seems, but how you perceive the situation to be. Reality is not just in the facts that are given to you, but in your interpretation of those facts. And reality is not just in the incidents that have happened in your life, but the meaning behind those incidences that have happened. If TEDx told me today that, hey Geetika, you can ramble on for your 18 minutes, but you can give only one takeaway to the audience, that I would humbly ask this of you. Do this one, I won't call it DIY, do it yourself, but do it for yourself, a diffie exercise as I call it. Think of your life. Take a pen and paper once when you go home today, or type away in your laptop, whatever is your fancy, and write about the facts, all the facts in your life. Write about all the situations that have happened. Write about all the incidents that have happened, and write down all the facts that you know about your life. But then don't stop there. Go beyond the obvious. Go behind them, go inside of them, and try to see what they are trying to tell you, what you have been trying to understand, and what you have been missing till now. And then rewrite your story and see what it says about you. The same facts, the same incidents, and the same situations, but now in a new light. Why? You may ask, why? Well, the answer is simple. Redefine your reality and see your destiny change.